What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be breaking down why Storm Spirit has a 50.60% win rate. Honestly, I was pretty astounded when I saw that Storm's win rate was above 50%. Typically, this is a hero that has always been below 50% just because of the nature of this hero and how difficult it is to play. And I honestly have not seen this hero for a really long time, but I started watching a bunch of replays and I decided to give this hero a try again. I've never been a spammer of Storm Spirit, but I definitely know how to play him properly. So I decided to go into ranked and start playing Storm Spirit, and this hero is actually doing very good. I was honestly very surprised at how strong Storm Spirit is. I really like the fast set static slide. I really think it's a really good tool, but you do have to enable quick cast. Honestly, if you don't have quick cast, it's very difficult to actually use this. In my opinion, I just think if you're a Storm Spirit player and you're already used to the way static remnant used to be, then you might struggle a little bit with the way that the remnant actually just keeps moving and it's not going to stay static exactly when you need it. So when you're going up on top of targets, it can be a little bit of a learning curve, but I just enabled quick cast and it was just a walk in the park. It was pretty much the same way it's always been. That was definitely easier for me, but I did struggle a little bit kind of getting used to it because you just want to spam static remnant how it used to be when you pull them in with your vortex and such. That was pretty much the way to go, and that's how I've always done it. So for me, quick cast is a must, but if you guys can get used to it, then you definitely don't need to. It's nothing crazy, but if you got a couple games in, you will get used to the remnant. I just prefer quick cast. I think it's much easier to play. Let's talk about the build Storm Spirits are currently running right now. So you go for treads, you go for a witchblade, then you go back for a Kaya, and then it definitely depends on the game. You can go for a Lincoln Sphere, you can go for a BKB. I don't think Bloodstone is that viable anymore. Bloodstone has gotten nerfs left and right, so I don't think it's a really good build for the Storm anymore. I think you can upgrade your witchblade to Parasma. You could even get yourself a Hex if you want to have even more control. The Aghanim Scepter is honestly pretty solid if you want that AoE control. The Aghanim Scepter is definitely going to provide you with quite a bit. So overall, a pretty strong hero this meta. I think you guys are sleeping if you're not picking Storm Spirit. I think you do need to be a Storm player to actually get value from. I think if you have never played Storm Spirit, you are going to have a pretty tough time. There's a reason why this hero doesn't get picked a whole lot by pub stompers. It's because this hero can be difficult and you can run into really tough lineups. Heroes like Shadow Shaman, Lion, insta hex abilities are the bane of your existence. Unless you buy yourself an Orchid and you always target these heroes, you will be having very difficult games. I hate running into Lions. I hate running into Shadow Shamans. They can just insta hex you, blink on top of you, and get rid of you. But if you're the one who's attacking, you can take care of them. But if they are faster than you at clicking their buttons, you will just feed. And that's something I don't like to play up against. So when I do see that support cast, I definitely don't like to pick the Storm Spirit because that's just going to make my game much harder. I have to get a BKB much faster or a Lincoln Sphere just to be able to survive. And that's not something you want to do on the Storm. You want to be able to play a little bit greedier, get your Yasha Kaya or your Kaya Sanj, whichever one of the two you guys like to go. I think both are pretty viable, but when you're dealing with a lot of stuns, Kaya Sanj is definitely the way to go. If there's not many stuns, then you can definitely go the Yasha Kaya. I think it's the most underutilized choice, but it can definitely work. You can get the Revenant's Brooch as well. It kind of hinders your mana a little bit. I think with the innate ability of Storm giving him charges for the kills that he gets makes him really strong, because once you get enough kills, you're going to have a bunch of stacks going, and that mana regen is going to be super important in the late game. In the early game, it's not that noticeable, but as you level your ultimate and you hit your level 18, you're going to be much stronger, and mana regen is always going to feel incredibly strong with Storm Spirit because you're going to be able to disengage from the fight. You're going to be able to engage much more. You're going to be able to do a whole lot around the fights that you weren't able to do before. So I'm a big fan of his innate ability. Very strong, very good part of his kit. I think just people in general are sleeping on the Storm Spirit, but again, a lot of these lineups are working with a lot of insta hex abilities and a lot of stuns, and that's maybe one of the reasons why Storm has kind of taken a back seat, because you definitely don't want to run into these types of lineups. Even though you might be a really good Storm player, you have to commit a lot of resources to be able to dodge these stuns and be untargetable. You can't just zip the entire time because you will run out of mana and you're not going to get anything done. Honestly, the worst feeling in the world is when you're running out of mana and you've done absolutely nothing in the fight because you're just scared to jump in. And not every single time you can just go first item BKB because you're going to be absolutely useless. You need to have at least a Witchblade or an Orchid and then go for a BKB. But even then, it just doesn't feel great. Storm wants to buy BKB more or less third to fourth item. You want to have some mana regen to be able to sustain yourself, because BKB is just going to get you out of a sticky situation, but then you're going to have no mana to actually go into the fight again. Let's talk about some of the reasons why you guys should be picking Storm Spirit. Well, first of all, Storm offers you a lot of catch, offers you a lot of magic burst, which can be very important against heroes like Morphling and such. You can do a very good job against these heroes, and the burst potential can always be very very, very strong, and you can easily reach the backline. Some of these pesky heroes like Sniper, you can easily jump the backline, take care of them, and that's going to be a very big benefit to your team. And that magic burst is always going to be really good. And then eventually you could start picking up more items and be a little bit more tankier, and you could eventually in the ultra late game start frontlining for your team a little bit more. I wouldn't say you want to be the tank, but you definitely can in the ultra late game when you have a bunch of items. Storm can be quite tanky, but he's very susceptible to getting stun locked, so that's why Kaya Sanch is such a recommended build, because it's going to help you with that status resistance, which is very important in these tough situations. And some of the reasons why you shouldn't pick Storm: he's very fragile in the laning phase, heavily depends on mana regen, so playing with heroes that give you mana regen or that tend to buy mana boots are going to be good. Heroes like Crystal Maiden, heroes like Keeper of the Light, these heroes are going to help you quite a bit, so consider playing with these heroes. You could also play with heroes like Ogre because of the Bloodlust. That extra attack speed is going to be very, very nice for the Storm. It's going to help you get a lot more right clicks and be able to finish kills much easier, but controlling your mana pool is going to be the main thing. If you're a Storm player, you're going to have no difficulties on doing that because you've already learned it. But for those new players trying to pick up Storm, he's not a very beginner friendly hero. I think you guys should put in your games and learn how to master the Storm Spirit and learn how far you can actually zip with the current mana pool you have, and learn your limits. Once you learn your limits as a Storm Spirit, you can easily start snowballing into the game and start going for crazy plays you didn't think were possible, because you need to understand how much mana your ultimate consumes for how much distance you traveled. Once you understand that, you're going to be having a really good time on the Storm. Let's break down some of the best and worst matchups for Storm Spirit. Some of the best matchups are Ancient Apparition, Sniper, Clockwork, Razor, Zeus. These matchups are quite easy for Storm. You can easily take care of these heroes, especially Sniper. Sniper being super popular, especially the lower MMR you go, he's even more popular, but even in Immortal, he's being played quite a bit, so you can easily go into these matchups. Heroes like Zeus are also kind of popular. Mid Razor has also been seeing a come up lately, so you can definitely pick it into that. And Ancient Apparition is just a walk in the park for you to take care of. You could even buy an Orchid if you are just afraid of getting ulted and bursted, then you can just go into it, or get yourself a Hex and be able to take care of these heroes very easily. Some of the bad matchups are Meepo, Lone Druid, Anti-Mage, Puck, Riki. These matchups are pretty brutal. Heroes with silences in general, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to be forced to buy BKB quite early. Against the mid Riki, which can happen situationally, you're going to have a really tough time. He's a natural diffusal buyer. His smoke screen is going to pretty much make your life a living hell. You're not going to be able to escape, so you might not be able to show around the map a whole lot. And heroes like Meepo can just net you and kill you. You're not going to have a good time in that matchup. You can kill him in lane. I have seen the matchup quite a bit. I've also played it quite a bit. You can come up ahead, but you need to build the Aghanim Scepter. That helps quite a bit as well. And you also have to just go for the backline. When the Meepo is doing a lot of work, you stop targeting the Meepo. You just start going for the backline and try and trade kills that way, because if you are going into a very strong Meepo, especially with Aghanim Scepter, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot to that hero. And Anti-Mage in general, obviously the Mana Burn, he's going to be doing a lot, and Puck with silences as well, and very difficult for you to catch. It's a matchup that you want to build yourself an Orchid and potentially a Yule Scepter that you can eventually turn into a Wind Waker. It is a very solid matchup for you to pick up this item just to be able to get away and give you that reset time for you to be able to ball lightning out of there. It is a pretty good matchup for you to get that Yule Scepter, and that mana regen is also going to be quite nice, so don't sleep on that. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Storm Spirit this patch. I think the hero is being slept on, and if you guys are Storm players, you should be picking up Storm more often than not. The hero is super strong. I'd like to hear your opinions in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.